live from Oahu, Mike Taylor.
Mike just going to show up here.
You're live, bro.
All right, I'm live, bro. How you boys doing? Well. Apparently we're on. How you guys doing? Que pasa? I've already asked it. Look at that. LG fixing me up. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You come home and you screw up right off the top. Not you, me.
Yeah. After I just explained how to do that.
You did, I know, right? Oh, that's good stuff. Oh, look at that. Oh, cool. I figured it out. How y'all doing, man? Look at that. Woo, we're back home. I'm drinking Young People White Claw, but it's good for me. I got backdrops. I'm not in the whatever I look like. Looked like I'd been captured by terrorists and was being held for ransom. I felt like I needed to do this post-game show with my eyeballs in Morse code this first month of the season. From San Antonio, Texas, from the Pickleball Giant Studios, it's Tyler, along with Samuel Freese and DJ LG. And here we go. The Cowboys are good. They go into a stadium in which I was going to say they go into the home of the champs, but they had a home field advantage based on the fans that were there. But nonetheless, it's a road game, and it is the team that won the championship last year, and they still have the same quarterback, and they have the same monster on defense. And the Cowboys kicked their ass, 22-10, the final today, as Dallas is now 4-1. Leading into next Sunday night's massive game with the Eagles, who also just beat the Cardinals, 20-17, I think the final was. And so both teams will be 1-2 going into next week, with Philadelphia at 5-0 and Dallas at 4-1, having now won 4 games in a row since Dak Prescott got hurt on a night in Tampa when they played Tampa Bay at Jerry World and got their ass kicked, and we all thought they had no chance and they were going to suck, and Dak was hurt again, and this thing was done, and how dare you not trade for a better wide receiver? What are we doing not building depth on both of the lines? This thing's awful. And a month later, it's 4-1. They can't lose anymore, and they're dominating everybody, and that includes not just today beating the Super Bowl champions. They've now beaten both of the teams that played in the Super Bowl in the last 4 weeks with a backup quarterback named Cooper Rush. And they're 4-1. And if it weren't for the damned Eagles, they'd be in first place in the division. But I kind of like being the underdog. I kind of like being in second place going on the road. And my first hot sports opinion here, and line up your chit-chat. We want to read as many as we can get. We want you to subscribe to our show on YouTube. We're also on Twitter and Facebook tonight. We want you to smash that like button. But before I turn it over to you, Poomer, it's going to be hard for me not to look at you, because we're like in the same room and stuff. I can't wait to see how we look together here with different backdrops. Probably, I guess, am I supposed to tell everybody we're in the same room?
Not really, and you'll never see yourself together unless you want to buy me a third camera.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
yeah.
Hell. Snarky right off the top. He's already pissed because I couldn't figure it out. Okay, that's fine. Here's my next opinion. You ready for it? And this is going to go against the grain as far as many of you are probably going to jump in here and tell me, oh, there's no reason to go to Dak now. This thing can't lose with Cooper Rush. Here's my opinion. As soon as Dak Prescott gets into the lineup, they're a Super Bowl contender 5 weeks into the season, and I reserve the right to change my mind based on performances, based on injuries, based on coaching or lack thereof. But right now, they're one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league, and they're one really good quarterback away. They got a good one, but they're one really good one away from being a Super Bowl contender. And so there's my first take. When Dak gets back, and hopefully it's next week, the Cowboys are a Super Bowl contender based on everything we've seen, good, bad, and indifferent so far. There it is. This is just Super Bowl contender, period. Just need Dak back. That's it. You agree with that or not? Are you thrown off by the room?
No, I mean, coming to you from my my own studio. Yeah, well, absolutely
sorry, not together.
Absolutely not on the other side of the room. Yeah, no, it's good to have you in the room first and foremost.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, you say they're a Super Bowl contender if they continue to have a top 3 defense. I mean, if they continue to have a defense that creates that much havoc in the backfield, if they stay healthy and continue to, have the ability to absolutely demolish an opponent's game plan. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. Cooper Rush could win multiple playoff games if the defense is healthy and playing the way they are right now. I mean, that's where does Dak absolutely take them to another level? No question. Dak is a security blanket that Cooper Rush does not offer. Cooper Rush does not give you, if this defense does have a brain fart, has two blown coverages, like the Cooper Cup one-handed touchdown in the first half. If the defense has a couple more blown assignments or gets beat flat out in man like they did that game, Cooper Rush won't win you that game. He doesn't give you that kind of blanket of explosive potential offense like Dak does. And that's where Dak takes them to another level. But with the way, DQ, me and DQ, known backwards hat wearers like ourselves, if DQ is, as long as he's here and the defense is healthy, I mean, you're going to see a Super Bowl contending team on the field every week. I mean, I think regardless of who is at quarterback. But all that to say, is this me entertaining any idea of a quarterback controversy? Absolutely not. I mean, it's Dak's job, it's Dak's team, and it's scary to think about what this entire, both sides of the ball, both units can look like a couple weeks down the road as Dak gets fully back healthy and gets into a rhythm. Because if Dak's healthy and in a rhythm, this is a 35-10 game, not a 22-10 game.
Right there with you. About that. See that? In honor of y'all boys.
There it is. There we go.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you this. Dak's probably chomping at the bit to get back. Not because he's worried about his damn job, but because they're having so much fun out there and he's not been a part of it. He's out there on the sideline. He's got headphones on, but he's not a part of it. He's hurt. He's in sweatpants like all the other inactives and assistant coaches. And I'll guarantee he's going through agony, watching how fun this is, but not being able to be out there with them. And I assume he's back next week. I just hope he's not rusty, because this is a game they obviously need to, win or at least contend in and not get their ass kicked. And they still could get their ass kicked, but it'd be nice to see him come back and not be rusty. But he ain't played in a month.
Well, and that's where, not only is he going to be rusty, but the game plan shouldn't change when Dak comes back. I mean, that's the thing about, what did Cooper Rush barely broke 100 yards passing today. I mean, it's not like this team has been winning on the back of the quarterback play. They're showing they can dominate games, control tempo, control clock, control field position by the execution of the game plan that they've shifted to since week one, since Dak went down. I mean, Dak is not the kind of talent that you instantly say every play is back on the table. We are going back to our gunslinging, wheels off. I mean, think back to the first game. I mean, they were running double reverses the first series of the season. First quarter of the season, we're busting out multiple trick plays because they thought they could do that because they had the comfort of Dak at quarterback. And so they're like, okay, if this fails, we're still going to be able to recover. No, throw all that shit get it out now, because you've shown with the defense playing at the level it has, with Tony Pollard and Zeke finally splitting carries and still not to the level where they should be, just in terms of what you see in productivity and explosiveness. There's always the argument to be made that Zeke helps out in the passing game with his blitz pickup, which is absolutely true. It's not $15 million worth of true, but it's still true. But I think you see the way this team can control games week in and week out, whether they win them or not. I think the defense is going to give them a chance to be in it if they don't make mistakes. And the one thing that the offense, for as explosive it has been, and people forget, I mean, it was a top-ranked offense in the in the league 2 years ago, granted with cherry picking certain, explosive games against bad opponents or meaningless games or mop-up time. And I get all of the weighted stats behind that, but it's still putting up those numbers. I hope they don't shift away from the identity that they are forming over the first 5 games of this season, because this identity is proving to be, you beat, like you said, you beat the 2 representatives in the Super Bowl last year. You beat the AFC champion and the NFC and Super Bowl, champion in the Rams at their place. I think the Rams have a lot to figure out with that offensive line, no question. Looking at the way the Cowboys, I think it's not just the Cowboys getting pressure. I forget. I'm sorry. I'm looking at a bird outside my brick house window.
Yeah, because we're miles apart, as you know.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, let's do this. So, and I've been guilty of this too. We've said, you don't need to be, they dumbed down the offense for Cooper Rush. Stay with this same offense and keep it dumbed down and tart it up for Dak Prescott when he gets back, and don't do the same stuff you were doing. All we got was 3.5 quarters of Dak the week 1. I don't think it was like they weren't running some Don Coryell offense out there. It wasn't the early 2000s Rams. Dak just sucked against Tampa Bay that night. Let's be honest. He was terrible, and I was pissed off and disappointed because it's a guy that I have backed forever and continue to do so, but he sucked that night. But okay, if you say that they've changed how they call plays since he got hurt, people keep acting like, well, it's because Cooper Rush is a backup. Let's stay with this because Dak's proven he's not good enough to handle this run and shoot offense. Maybe it's they've simplified the offense because they didn't know that their defense was going to be this good week 1 either. Last year Dak threw for 4,500 fucking yards last year and 40 touchdowns. Everybody acts like he sucks. They had to score a bunch of points last year. They had to do some outscoring. This year they don't. If you're going to simplify the offense, it's not because Dak's inaccurate. It's because this defense, probably to their surprise, has turned into a top 5 defense, maybe not just in the NFC, but the NFL itself. They're phenomenal, and they've got bodies everywhere. You cannot take plays off against them just because Micah Parsons might be on an exercise bike. They didn't miss a beat when Micah was on the sideline, which, by the way, I continue to be worried about that guy. He's been beaten up since week 2, and he's beaten up again today. He's got a tweaked groin. He's so insane good. I'm worried to death about him because he's been banged up for a month. I was just about to tweet, send Micah to the room, get him a shower, get him street clothes on, and start the rehab process now. You're playing Philadelphia next week, and what you do? Gets a sack. Okay. Then he's on the sideline, and he's holding himself right in the groin area after he got blocked once, and it's like, okay, that's it. Now get him off the field. That's enough. No more Dak. No more Micah. What you do? Force a freaking fumble at the end of the game. So even when he's out there tweaked, he's still making plays. I am worried about him, but that's a long way of saying whether he's 100%, 80% or not, obviously you don't want him missing the Philly game next week. This is a defense that has depth. It's a defense where Jaron Kearse gets hurt. No problem. The former Aggie Donovan Wilson comes in and plays like a Pro Bowler. And that way, Jaron Kearse returned today, but Wilson still got plenty of reps. And while Wilson was out there getting lots of experience these last 4 weeks, now you've got 2 good free safeties. It's a team, when Stephon Diggs doesn't give up 2 long passes, he's a shutdown corner or has an interception. Okay, well, you blocked Tank Lawrence and we blocked Micah Parsons. Well, shit, Dorrance Armstrong causes a fumble or blocks a punt. It's a defense that has depth all over the place, and they're to be commended. To hell with Randy Gregory. To hell with whoever they lost in free agency. These guys stayed the course. They developed their own. They lead the NFL in draftees that start for them. They have drafted. They've developed on defense. They've got one of the best defensive coordinators in football. And they're great. You keep rolling with the same offense, not because Dak's not good. It's because your defense is good.
Yeah, and looking at what Cooper Rush attempted, 16, 18 pass attempts, something like that.
Yeah, he
today.
was fine.
And exactly. I think 10 of 16. I think it was for right over 100 yards. So I'm not saying I just don't want to see them immediately jump back up to 30-plus pass attempts a
That would be
game.
on them, not Dak.
100%. That would be back on Kellen because, like I keep going back to, this team has shown you can win games handing the ball off to Zeke and Pollard and throwing 16 to 24 pass attempts and setting up the big plays and executing them. And so far, I mean, you did see that was an excellently timed drop. You did see some of the penalties start to creep back at times in this game, and you started, like Tyler Smith with a holding call. You started to see, some of the. I don't know who you blame for it, but some of the undisciplined play there in a sloppy second quarter. But I mean, it didn't. I think all in all, you did as well as you could against Aaron Donald, and you're getting out of there with a 2-score win in a game you were a 5.5-point underdog in, again with your backup quarterback, all because you controlled the ball and your defense dominated. That it doesn't matter who you get back healthy at quarterback. I mean, look at the thing Brady even gets knocked the most for early is, he was just a bus driver. Great. Well, he did an excellent job of following a game plan. And again, I think this defense is good enough to not game plan based on your quarterback, which is what it's felt like they've done. I mean, hell, even when they had, before we all turned on Zeke, before Zeke got the contract extension, the fan base was united behind, Dak is doing too much then. And now looking at, where they are with the lack of offensive weapons, because that's the other thing. If Dak comes back and throws 32 pass attempts against Philly, the main targets are CeeDee Lamb, who we saw have another drop on third down, Michael Gallup, who we saw alligator arm at 3rd and 2, where he had a great route, great cut, got wide open, and then dropped the pass, which you could argue a bit of gamesmanship from the Rams assistant coach, because you could see him right on the side of the play. He's over there shaking his arms and running out towards the sideline like he's making a play on the ball. But regardless, should have been caught. I just don't think the Cowboys have the kind of weapons anymore. Even Dalton Schultz getting hurt, have the kind of weapons to go back to that 30-plus pass attempt, number one offense in the league, especially considering they don't have to with the way they're set up with that defensive depth that you described. I mean, even, Donovan Wilson caused another meaningful holding penalty today on the blitz. So, I mean, you talk about Curse being back. I mean, those guys are two different players at the same position. So it just provides DQ even more flexibility with the play calling and the matching the offense personnel. I mean, it's that 10-6 is or 10-7 is looking pretty good right now. Pretty good.
I'm happy to be wrong. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind. It's a long-ass season. They've only played 5 games. Somebody said 7-10. That would have been me.
Yeah, that would require 2 more wins.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I look, by the way, wearing hats backwards in honor of Dan Quinn.
DQ.
DQ as
DQ.
Yes. Okay, I'm so ass-whipped by quarterback controversy talk. It's made up.
It's not
bullshit.
a controversy.
Yes, it's not correct. It's not with them. It's not a controversy. Fans are making it one amongst ourselves, us obviously being the only post-game show in town in this area. And even if we weren't, there'd be no reason to listen to anybody else. But anyway, there is no controversy. Not once have the Cowboys considered staying with Cooper Rush. Rush has bought them time to bring Dak back. And let me say this also. You cannot, like I said earlier, if they simplified the offense, it's yes, to protect them from Cooper Rush from fucking it up, but it's also because you could afford to be a little conservative because of the defense, which they did not know that they had week 1. That being said, you damn sure don't run the identical offense as Cooper Rush when Dak gets back. Dak's way better than Cooper Rush. Can we all you and I are going to agree on that. I don't give a shit what everybody else thinks. Dak Prescott is a hell of a lot more talented than Cooper Rush. Damn right, you let him make some. You have him attempt some plays that they wouldn't with Cooper Rush because Cooper Rush can't make the damn plays. So it's a little bit of both. It's that Dak's better, so yeah, you can open it up some. It's also the defense is better than they thought it was going to be, so yeah, you can chill some. Against a team like Philadelphia, who's good everywhere, next week on the road in prime time, you can't go out there and bus drive your way to that win. You can bus drive past some people. You can't bus drive past Philadelphia. At some point, the Cowboys may have to score a bunch of points to win a game because the defense can't do this every week, I don't think. And that means you do have a guy like Dak Prescott who can go out there and outscore people. Cooper Rush cannot outscore anybody. I mean, how many points have they scored since he took over? Just enough to win because the defense doesn't give up any points anymore. It's been 19, 17, 16, 10, and 10 back-to-back weeks now for the defense.
Think about it this way. How many plays over the last 4 games or 5 games can you pinpoint and say that was a play that Cooper Rush would make, that Dak wouldn't make, that impacted the game?
None.
There's not one. There's just not one. There's not a single game you can watch and say Dak either wouldn't have been able to make that play or wouldn't have been able to make that read or wouldn't like there's just there's no controversy. This is not like Romo getting hurt and Dak being a 4th-round draft pick and winning the job after Kellen Moore got hurt again, in front of him in training camp. This is not the same scenario at all. This is every bit of Cooper Rush being your exact stereotypical backup quarterback, a guy that's executing the game plan to perfection, working within his physical limitations that are absolutely physically more limited than your starting quarterback in Dak. This is a league where scouting, all of the success is built through drafting and scouting and developing your own guys. Or if you don't draft them, picking up on free agents that other teams are undervaluing and developing them. Cooper Rush is a quarterback that has cleared waivers 4 times in his career. A quarterback that no other team wanted except the New York Giants because they wanted intel on the Cowboys, and also Opie Garrett was their head coach or offensive coordinator. So, I mean, this is not a case where there's even a conversation to be had about who will potentially provide the more successful route to this playoff drought for the Cowboys. It's not Cooper Rush. He has done everything that could have possibly been expected of him, and he has exceeded even those expectations. But again, I mean, I would ask you to point out one example where Cooper Rush makes a play that either Dak couldn't make physically or wouldn't make mentally, wouldn't make the read. I just don't see it. It's not there. And if this defense was not performing at a damn near league high level, then I don't think we would even be sitting here considering any conversation. I think we would be salivating at the thought of Dak being back for a divisional matchup against an undefeated Eagles team in prime time next Sunday night.
Sure. All right, and Dak may be rusty, and they may get their ass kicked because Philadelphia is really good, and Micah Parsons may be hurt, and the defense may take a step back for a week. That does not mean that you go right back to Rush. Okay. We are for the first time together in the Pickleball Giant Studios, 1604 and the Rogers Ranch exit on the north side of San Antonio, the only premier, only all pickleball gear store in town. Some places may have a rack or two here. Pickleball Giant, they've got nothing but pickleball stuff, including the indoor court where you can go and learn to play the game. It is the most rising sport in America with all ages. That goes for all ages. The data all suggested. The math and all suggested. The pickleball craze is continuing with courts going up all over the area. And the only place in the city that sells exclusive just pickleball stuff where they just eat, sleep, play pickleball, and repeat is Pickleball Giant at 1604 and Rogers Ranch. All right? All right. The roughing the passer calls in the NFL, and this is me bitching about the sun being hot. This is me being an old man yelling at clouds because nothing will ever change unless the only way this is going to change is as if they get even more stingy. Although I don't know how you can be more stingy than what we saw today, not just in the Dallas game, but the Tom Brady call today that basically gave Tampa Bay momentum, kept their momentum, and they wound up winning today. Is outrageous. It's stupid. Put flags on them. Let them run around and just pull a flag out of their ass. I guess not their ass, their pants. You know what I mean? Not
ballpark.
That would be funny if it was literally the asshole. Let them wear a flag and pull the flag out, and that's a sack. The call against Dallas today, I forget the defender, was stupid. It did nothing to impede Dallas's own Matthew Stafford. The call today in the Tampa Bay game, that was as bad as any big league player getting a call in Major League Baseball, or I guess the NBA is the better example. We're used to stars getting calls in the NBA. You don't normally give stars all the calls and benefits in the NFL unless they're the quarterback, and you make it Tom Brady. My God, just stick a goddamn flag in his britches. I know he's sad. He's a sad panda because his decision to come back this year has cost him a marriage. But that was a bullshit call, and I just wanted to get that off my chest. Nothing will change, but the roughing the passer penalties in this league are awful. That's it.
Feels like that has to be a league-wide response and reaction to the terrible situation we saw Tua in.
That's on them. You don't overcompensate.
No, 100%.
Let's wear two condoms because we got the girl pregnant.
That's always going to be. I mean, it's the same way NBA. All of a sudden, people start leaving the court to enter the arena or enter the crowd, or the bench is clear, and then all of a sudden they start giving 1-game suspensions to everybody. I mean, it's going to be over policed. I mean, the Brady one. The Brady one was really, really bad, but you mentioned it. That Cowboy, I think it was Dante Fowler.
Okay.
I think it was Fowler. I don't understand what he didn't wrap up. He had arms up. He didn't finish the hit. He didn't sling him down. He never put his arms around the quarterback, around Stafford. He didn't hit him in the head. I mean, he stayed tall, so he got kind of in his face, but he had half a step to peel off. And that the fact that got called this week makes me think that it was more of a league-wide mandate of, look, anything close, call it. Anything, we cannot take another week of the PR hit of having, clips of our guys start having mental or brain issues on the field. Like, I think they were going to get in front of any kind of physical, over physical hits on the quarterback this week. Because I mean, you had the new concussion protocol brokered at the last minute before the games this week as well, where you saw it instantly in action. I mean, Bridgewater apparently would have been cleared with the old protocol, but was held out from returning to the game today. And then, Chris Olave caught a touchdown, but was slammed really, really aggressively into the turf and ended up being held out specifically by the new concussion protocol. So it feels like that it was more of, if we continue to see that one-sided of roughing the passer calls, then yeah, I mean, that I don't see how you rush the quarterback if you're constantly living in fear that you have only less than half a step to peel off and not hit the quarterback. I mean, as we watched the game today, sitting out here in the Pickleball Giant Studios, after that roughing the passer call, there was one Micah. I think it was Micah right after that hit Stafford, where Stafford, it was on the fourth, it was on the interception by Hooker on that final or penultimate drive there, and Stafford looked like that was a step and a half late, and even worse than the one they called. So yeah, that felt like it's probably more of a league top down mandate to call
bullshit.
Anything, and it's
the
also
Dolphins are the ones that should have bad PR. They screwed that kid from the hellscape Tua. Wasn't the NFL or protocol. I think they violated protocol some. I think they're covering their asses, and the NFL is helping them do it because the NFL goes to great lengths to help teams cover their asses in all things, on and off the field, right, Jerry?
Oh, no question.
Miami screwed that kid.
Yeah.
He should sue the Dolphins and the NFL.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he will, just like Tyrod Taylor sued the Chargers guy for puncturing his lung when he gave him the pain shot. I just think the league, we saw a player today have his parents pulled out of the crowd so they could ride with him in an ambulance off the field because he had, and that was some of the most, it looked like the slightest of contact right off the line as the play was initiating, Savion Smith with the Lions. So, I mean, it's a league where as these athletes continue to get faster and stronger than we've ever seen before, those kinds of judgment calls are going to just be harder and harder to make. I think the league's not always, but I think when the PR pressure is being applied to them, I think they're going to err on the side of flagging everything, and then you'll forget about it in 2 weeks.
All right, let's play a game. You ready?
Fire.
You only get 2 seconds to respond.
Okay.
The question is, good or not? Ready?
Like it.
The Lions, go.
No, not.
The Vikings.
Yes.
The Commanders.
Not.
The Jaguars.
Not.
The Cardinals.
Yes.
Okay. 2 out of those 5 you said were good. You said the Vikings were good. You sure they're good?
I'm not sure, but I think if Kirk Cousins, what did he start 16 for 16 today, 13 for 13, something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, if like that's Kirk Cousins, you want to you want to hear a fan base bitch about their quarterbacks more than ours does about Dak?
Yeah.
Like, let's zoom into some Minnesota Vikings sports talk, and you'll get a lot of Kirk Cousins. If he performs like that, they're a good team. I mean, they have a weapon more dangerous than every NFC team except for 2 or 3.
You said the Cardinals were good. You sure?
No, absolutely not.
You know who I just labeled, don't you? You follow me so far?
Is that the Cowboy? No, what is that?
No.
Educate me.
The Lions, Vikings, Commanders, Jaguars, Cardinals. Those are the teams that Philadelphia's played so far.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Are we sure Philadelphia's all that great? I'm not.
No.
And they're all close scores. Not like there's a bunch of blowouts.
Are we sure Jalen Hurts is not much more than a Cooper
no.
Rush
No.
type?
Cooper Rush is undefeated with that team.
Exactly.
So's a healthy Dak, by the way.
But it does bear saying the Eagles win games because they control the clock, control the ball, because they have a absolute threatening running game that they can rely on, and they have a bend don't break defense. I mean, you're seeing. I mean, hell, even look at the Giants. I mean, it's not like Danny Dimes is the reason they're 4-1 right now. It's bend don't break defense. Mm-hmm. It's come up with opportune stops.
Yep.
And it's be able, as Saquon Barkley is averaging 6.5 yards a carry. Again, he's back to being a dominant force.
Yeah.
I mean, it's old school NFC East football. Every single one of these teams is riding their success based on pound the ball running game and strong defense. I mean, this is 1990s NFC East with the Commanders just
not doing their part.
No, Wentz last week should have been Wentz's last game to ever start in the NFL. He can be a backup, fine, sure. But if this week was not his last game to ever start, that whole thing needs a regime change to begin with.
Cowboys win today, 22-10. It's amazing to think that Mike McCarthy's first game as Cowboys coach was in this same stadium week 1 2 years ago against the Rams. And they were competitive, and they did okay, but they had glaring weaknesses, and they were clearly not in LA's class. LA just come off a Super Bowl championship. Look how much the Cowboys have changed in just the 2 years since McCarthy coached that first game. Look how good they appear to be with depth. No one's comparing them to. No one's saying they're going to win the title. I think they're a contender. But they've just developed their own guys. They draft their own guys. They keep their own guys. They develop. They develop them. They coach them. They trust them. They let guys go, and they put guys in position to help them win, and it's paid off 5 weeks into the season. They've changed quite a bit, except for one glaring thing that has only gotten worse in the 2 years since McCarthy's first game. The obvious weak link to this team. Whenever he's on the field, I think we're all deflated because he's a spare, and that is Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke Elliott, and it sucks because, last week I said this is the first time that this duo actually looked pretty good together because Zeke held up his end of the bargain. Zeke sucked butt today. And it wasn't just because the Rams stuffed him. Tony Pollard got off against the Rams today. Zeke did not have anything. He was awful. He was less than just a guy. He was back to looking like a slow, fat guy who's a couple of months from being off this team, thank God. Can we draft his replacement next year and start that guy with Tony Pollard, or have Tony Pollard? We need another Tony Pollard and put Pollard a starter already.
Yeah, don't let me burst
sucks.
your Pollard bubble. But I've
gone.
long said I think the starting running back for your Dallas Cowboys
off the team
next season is playing college football right now.
Yeah, because I don't want to overpay Tony either. But
exactly.
Some dumbass team in this league will, and he'll be gone probably.
The Zeke should be the last multi-million or 10 million plus contract the Cowboys sign with a running back for until the league shifts back to as it always does. I mean, it will eventually start to change again and shift back to valuing the running back, but it's not going to be for a generation or two removed from now. I mean, this Zeke, they have an out in the offseason, but I don't think anyone expects them to actually cut bait as they could. I mean, I think you're going to see some kind of reworked deal that probably allows them to overpay Pollard if they do go that route, because that is traditionally, there's no reason to believe they wouldn't do that with their skill position guys. This is what they've always done. But yeah, I mean, there's an out in Zeke's contract, and Pollard is up as an unrestricted free agent. So, I mean, the smart 29 other teams in the league would say, Zeke, loved you. You're gone. We're saving money. Pollard,
hey,
we're
Zeke,
not
fuck
overpaying.
off. We made a mistake. Fuck
exactly.
off.
And we're drafting a running back probably in the third or fourth round, and not even the first two rounds. So, do we expect the Cowboys to do what 29 other teams in the league would probably do? Absolutely not. So, I mean, I think at worst, you're probably still seeing Zeke on a reworked deal, and you're seeing a new running back to replace Pollard. But Zeke Zeke couldn't find his legs today. I mean, every time it looked like there was a hole, he was tripped up already and on his way down. But, I mean, there were a couple of third down conversions where I continue to go back to it. If it's 3rd and 2 or shorter, I love that formation with Zeke at fullback and Pollard at running back, because, it not only does it allow you to pound the ball up the middle with Zeke if you think you've got the advantage in the trenches, but it also allows for that quick pitch outside to Pollard where he can really use his quick acceleration, explosive speed to get the corner on the outside. I mean, that's something that, while they are both still Cowboys, and before they either overpay Pollard or continue to overpay Zeke, I do think there are still ways where you can utilize them both. But yeah, I mean, the question was answered last year, who the most explosive running back on the roster was. And the fact that they continue to force feed Zeke just to keep his ego inflated for whatever to keep the locker room balance of not having to worry about Zeke throw a fit. I mean, I don't know what the reasons are, but also I would say
they have to play him. But
we've never heard Pollard come out and say, I need more touches or I need more carries, to his credit, I guess. So, sure. I mean, it's hard to argue when you're getting the results, but yeah, I mean, the $15 million elephant in the room is Zeke's contract, and how much of a burden that is on the. I mean, this is an organization that cut Amari Cooper and his $20 million a year contract based on availability, as Jerry put it. But it's also an organization that will overpay Zeke Elliott $15 million a season to underachieve. So,
I say this with
there's no.
hesitancy. I don't think they'd do that again. If given the chance to do it again, they don't do it again.
I mean,
Surely not.
You thought that whole month before the Zeke holdout, you thought Jerry had learned and Jerry was taking a strong stance. That's where we got the Zeke who. That's where we got the, we're only worried about the people that are here in camp. That's where we got the,
total puss
we've
down.
got answers for every outcome. And then a week later, Zeke is signing the absolute last big deal for a running back in the league for a long, long time. So, I mean, you'd like to think they wouldn't do it again, but at the same time, how much money has Jerry made off of Zeke jersey sales? How much money has...
So what? It's Cowboys. So the other guys will sell jerseys.
Sure, but I do think Zeke is a different brand than Tony Pollard.
The fans are stupid. Bring on some.
Sure,
We're trying to win
yeah.
games here. Who cares? Who gives a shit whose
jumped
jerseys get bought?
He jumped into a Salvation Army red kettle, and that got him a contract
of course.
extension.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so they win, and that's good. And they are really good going into next week, and they'll probably flip quarterbacks. And if they lose, y'all will come on here and ass whip me next Sunday night. But that's okay. That's why we do a show for you people. We love you hard. All right. It's also brought to you by the way, the Johnny Truckin' YouTube show. Johnny Truckin', longtime Thunderdomer. He was a CPA. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. This job's boring as shit. You imagine that? You put yourself through school. You work your ass off, become a CPA. Everything works great. And you sit there and think, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to be a truck driver.
I bet his parents loved that one.
Hey, Mom and Dad, guess what? And he's turned into a really successful truck driver, and he's constantly trucking, constantly listening. And we're on here to show the guy some love tonight, the Johnny Truckin' Show. And he's only been trucking for a while. He's basically a rookie still. And he has a YouTube show in which he goes through the trials and travails of being a rookie truck driver. Videos galore of his adventures, tutorials on the trucks, which I'm totally enamored with because I'd never even been inside the cab of an 18-wheeler until a couple of months ago. And life on the road. So he's Boodle Thunderdome. Go subscribe to his show, but you have to subscribe to ours. You're not allowed. Hit the like button. It's Johnny Truckin' on YouTube. He's a Thunderdome truck driving sumbitch. All right? All right, very good.
Good dude. Hey.
Yes, sir.
Hey, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if we can pick it up. I can't get it close enough.
No. You're going to wake her up because we got quiet.
We put the roommate to sleep with this overreaction. She can only take so much Micah Parsons groin talk.
How many times you get texted now or tweeted, Micah Parsons look good again?
Oh, no.
You did this to yourself.
It has become a tradition. Unlike I heard it multiple times yesterday at ACL as we're standing there watching Manchester Orchestra. I just saw from across the crowd, or I heard from across the crowd, "Hi, Micah Parsons look good," and I just turned real fast.
At ACL last
there's
night?
a guy just holding
Hell
up a
yeah.
beer. Yeah. No, throughout the course of today's game, I saw 3 or 4 trickle in.
Atta baby.
Yeah, no, it's again like it.
He sent Puma texted me earlier and said, "I wish these retards would stop sending me that."
Yeah, that's verbatim. That's exactly. Yeah. You can check the tape on that one. No, I'll go back. I'll say it continually. This is the Cowboys drafting Micah Parsons is a perfect example of the Cowboys deserving credit for taking the player, but also not deserving any credit because the players they wanted were gone. They wanted Surtain the second. They wanted Joe Horn's son.
Yeah.
And Horn, the jury's still out. Surtain looks like the real deal. But none of them are generational, franchise-changing talents like Micah. And going back to talking about the roommate the passing out here, she's the one that noted as we were on a Monday overreaction on the radio show, and I said, "Hey, Micah Parsons looked good again." And she was like, "You said that weird." Like, go back and listen to that. And now, yeah, I am geeked out of my mind every time I see somebody post that, hear somebody yell it at a music festival. Yeah, any of it, man, because he is that kind of dude. He is a franchise changing guy. I mean, we argued, or not argued, but we talked about, with after I think it was the second game of Dak being injured, who's the most important player in this franchise right now? Is it Micah or is it Dak? And I think the evidence that you can compile if you're in the Micah crowd has only stockpiled with Dak being out, because I think, like I said, half-assed jokingly, but I mean they wouldn't have a losing record if Will Grier was the quarterback instead of Cooper Rush, because of the defense, because of Micah Parsons and the reinvention and rejuvenation of Tank Lawrence, because of what Micah forces an offense to game plan. Tank is looking like a completely different dude again, like the old dude. So, I mean, I love it. It's great because it also means the Cowboys are doing well, because if Micah's doing well, it means he's either forcing turnovers, getting sacks on third downs, ending drives. He's doing things that lead to winning football. There's no hollow stats with that dude. It's like you said. I mean, he was on the sideline grabbing his groin, looked like he should have just had his helmet taken away. And then they put him in on third down and he gets a basically game sealing sack. Like I love it. Always, I'm happy to always have that attached to me.
Yeah, he's good enough to get a sack while hurt, but he could have made it worse, though, and he may have. Even though he got the sack, he still may have made it worse, and I just hope they don't regret letting him stay in the game, because he was clearly hurt. Johnny Truckin's in here right on time. Micah must have only injured 3 inches of that foot long because the man stayed balling. Yeah, I know. And even if he only has 9 of the 12 inches next week, I guess that's okay, but I kind of like to get all 12 inches of him against the Eagles, man, just saying.
I don't worry about that, dude. I think he's going to be nicked up, and they're going to find ways to give him rest. But we talked, we were sitting here watching the game, and that's the Super Bowl champion from last year in their house, while you're potentially playing the last game with your backup quarterback. That's a moment where I'm fine with, even though it's game 5, I'm fine with them risking Micah and putting him back out there, because look at the impact he had that sealed the game with that third down sack. I mean, I think if you're still doing that in week 11 and 12, yeah, then I have a lot of concern about how he's going to hold up through any kind of late season stretch into the playoffs. But you do it here or there early in the season, knowing that you have the entire back end of the schedule to give him rest and to nurse some of these lingering issues. I'm not as much worried about it, because they just beat the Super Bowl, defending Super Bowl champions on the road with a backup quarterback, because you can rely on him to make plays like that. And I'll take the win here and get the rest later in the season.
Gary Lay, dare I say, the Cowboys defense has a toughness not seen since the 90s teams. They had solid defenses there for a little bit with Wade Phillips, the year that they lost the big division title game to the Giants, the playoff game to the Giants at home. They were like 13-3.
Yep.
That was a solid defense, but I don't know that it ever had the swagger.
Not the attitude like
this one's got, because Yuck doesn't have swagger. He's a good defensive coordinator, but his teams play. Oh, who's that?
You know who got that swagger?
Who's that?
That's DQ.
Oh, I have DQ.
That's that DQ. That's that DQ. That backwards hat swagger. They love him, dude.
Swagger.
They love him. And the
I know. They better make his ass the head coach next year if he wants to be, because Micah's already said he's leaving.
And that's, I should
to
say,
follow him.
We should say, part of winning, McCarthy deserves a lot of credit for this thing rallying and being undefeated without your starting quarterback. I mean, we give Kellen the credit for changing the game plan and shifting to more of a, ball control. We give DQ the credit for leading the defensive revival and surprising even themselves by being, less risk versus reward than last year, less turnovers, but just all around more solid. But the name that we don't give enough credit to is absolutely Mike McCarthy. I mean, you have to give him credit for being for riding this ship and not letting this season completely go to shit when you lose your starting quarterback in week 1. I mean, I think the way the McCarthy and Dan Quinn relationship, the way it is, you could convince me Dan Quinn turns down head coaching jobs again this offseason if the Cowboys make it to an NFC championship game. And McCarthy says, do what you got to do, but I'd love to have you back. I could see Jerry money whipping DQ for one more season if they are that close, because it does feel like they're. I mean, hell, even I think it was Quinn early in the week that was, gave a quote something along the lines of, y'all don't talk enough about. You're coming to me and talking about the performance of the team. Why, Mike is the leader of this ship, and his, I think it was DQ said he doesn't ride the roller coaster. He doesn't ride the roller coaster every week. And I thought, like, that is what you get with that Pittsburgh, with that, what's Pittsburgh? You get that kind of guy that just is not going to go. He's not going to go to the absolute depths of despair when he loses his starting quarterback, and he's not going to ride the absolute high ascensions of the roller coaster when they're on a 5-game winning streak. I mean, he's going to bust watermelons like Gallagher and make Austin Powers references that none of the players get because they're all of the age where they weren't even born when the movies came out. But he still deserves some credit for being the steady hand at the helm.
He got pissed this week when he found out they were a 5.5-point dog.
I loved it.
And that was his bit in the locker room. He didn't go in there and do dumbass cheesy shtick. He said, look, we're underdogs. Y'all really believe that? We're nobody's underdog.
Yeah, we're underdogs to nobody.
And Tom Rinaldi even discussed this in the beginning of the game when he got a little pissed off when he found out that Dallas was a 5.5-point dog. And he used that as the motivation cry this week. Not that they needed it. This is the defense that I don't think needs a whole hell of a lot of motivation because they got that swagger that we haven't seen in 20 years.
Yep.
Silly strings, one. Let's not be fooled. Dallas does this every effing year. They let us down somehow every season. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, just being a realistic Cowboys fan.
Yeah, but
Ain't
enjoy
seen
the
this swagger.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's fine. It's okay. I mean, you can't be a Debbie Downer every week. Oh, but they do that. They're going to suck. At some point, they're going to implode. Maybe, why watch, I quit caring a long time ago. It's a win-win for me. I don't invest anger in this team anymore. Like you and I have talked about, we hate that Jerry Jones has any success, but we still root for the team because we have a toxic relationship with that franchise.
Yep.
But what I've been able to, through therapy sessions with myself, because I don't pay for therapy, as you know. I give myself therapy. What I've come to grips with, I'm going to be happy when they win, and it's going to be funny when they lose. I'm never going to get pissed off anymore. So if they do implode later in the year and we get Keystone Cops, it's going to be funny. I'm not going to get mad. So I'm setting myself up to either be happy and excited they've won a bunch of games, or I'm going to laugh my ass off because they did what they always do. But I do think the difference is that this defense has a swagger, and what's that word mean? Whatever you want it to mean. But there's an intangible this defense has that it's not had in a long time. And it's damn sure hasn't had this much depth. It's as talented as it's been in a couple of decades too, which should be repeated a whole bunch this week. It's just a more talented team than it has been in a long, long time because they've developed players. They got a bunch of hungry dudes out there who make plays. The rise of Donovan Wilson, the rise of Malik Hooker. I can go on and on. The rise of J-Ron Curse, what he's brought to this thing, not just Micah Parsons, but damn near everybody else. It's Trayvon Diggs, who still gives up yards on occasion, but makes up for it with big plays here and there. He's got help on the other side.
Boss man Fad on special teams.
He's turned into the best damn gunner in the league, boss man fat.
Real quick on that
Still ain't talked to the cops, though.
hey, well, okay,
Gangsters
minor,
don't talk.
Yeah, I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
minor
We
detail.
ain't talking. We're keeping it real.
That's a guy who, the knock against him outside of the fact that he somehow smoked enough weed at LSU to get kicked out of LSU.
I know, man.
Like, Tyrann Mathieu couldn't even do it.
man, I want to talk to you about it.
Too many pounds for
anything after 10 pounds, and you got to get off the team. You done violated the 10-pound rule.
That was literally between the weed and just the rap career, the aspiring rap career. That was the knock against him. So you got the idea.
You carrying? No, is you carrying? Because I'm short.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Be a lot cooler if you help me out.
The knock against him was always, is he actually does he care about football? Is he that focused about football? And
He's got a niche. He's excited to do what he's doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And, looking at, but that, he's a guy who was given an opportunity to earn a starting job after all the off the field legal issues that he faced.
Right.
That's a drop. And still, to be that impactful on special teams, it shows that he still cares, that he still is looking, because that's all effort. I'm not getting my chance on defense, but I'm going to have an impact on special teams. So for a guy that had, off the field baggage and concern about his actual commitment level to the game of football, that's a nice storyline to see. But again, it's also a wasted second-round pick if we're sitting here. It's us giving him credit for special teams play is the equivalent of us giving Zeke credit for run blocking.
Can't make them all. Jalen Tolbert can't get active either,
No.
But it's still, I think I saw that stat. I think you had it too. They lead the NFL in guys that they've drafted who start for them.
Yeah, well, and it's also total roster makeup. The percent of their total roster that was that they drafted is higher than any team in the league, and that doesn't automatically mean or automatically make for a good thing. I mean, if you're bad at drafting and you're keeping all your guys, that's not a good stat to have. But I think they're just look at that defensive front. I mean, the hits. I think Sam Williams is. You talk about another guy with off the field baggage. If he didn't have that, he would have been a middle of first round, late first round talent that they were able to snag in the second round. Odigizua, a second round pick. I think it was second round pick, second or third. But again, the guys that outside of Micah, outside of Tank, we talked about him, Dorrance Armstrong with the huge. Another guy that's performing on special teams, that's a name that when I saw not that he broke the bank with his contract extension, but 2 years, $6 million a season for Dorrance Armstrong. I thought, okay, but what are we doing? Like, why lock up that kind of money for a rotational piece? Mm-hmm. And he slid in and absolutely, filled a lot of the void of losing Randy Gregory. So, looking at the makeup
it's not like Randy Gregory was an all-pro last year.
No.
I know you're not saying that, but
sure,
I don't want that to get lost in the narrative.
But Randy Gregory was exponentially better than Dorrance Armstrong
in a contract
last year.
He managed to not smoke more weed than Boss Man Fat.
Okay, yeah. Hey, Boss Man's, for the record, Boss Man is not a Cole Beasley situation. Boss Man's got some fire tracks.
Oh, I love the guy.
On Spotify.
He can rap.
That might or might not be in my legit playlist.
And he will cover up a murder on you, too.
Well, that's right.
He absolutely will.
That's why he's got good bars.
Let's end with this. I don't fear the Eagles like I fear big, badass teams.
Who do you fear in the NFC?
After today, nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody. So they beat the Lions 38-35, a Lions team that got shut out today. They beat the Vikings 24-7. Can't argue with that. They stomped the Commanders 24-8. Can't argue with that. They beat the Jaguars 29-21 2 weeks ago. Jacksonville lost at home today to Houston. And the Eagles beat the Cardinals today 20-17 because the Cardinals kicker sucks and missed a 40-yard field goal with the game on the line. They'll probably cut his ass tomorrow. I don't fear them. They're not some world beater just because they're 5-0. They didn't even know if Jalen Hurts was actually going to be the right call this year. But Carson Wentz played himself out of the league, or so they thought. They got a dumbass team in the Indianapolis Colts to take him on in a trade. Hurts is fine. And Hurts is not going to make the All-Pro team this year. Remember week 2? Jalen Hurts, is he an MVP candidate? Gives a fuck if he's an MVP candidate 2 weeks into the season. And the answer is no. Jalen Hurts is not near elite. Let's see Jalen Hurts kick the Dallas defense's ass next week.
Let's see
Jalen
Hurts accomplish.
Then I'll call him an MVP candidate.
Let's see Hurts accomplish a fraction of the regular season success that Dak has in his career.
And he hasn't played enough.
Let's see him put up anywhere similar numbers or efficiency ratings that Dak has done over the course of a full season.
And there's not a Cowboy fan in Texas that would say that they would tell you that they would take Dak over Jalen Hurts. They all say, no, give me Hurts. Give me Hurts. And everyone hates Dak Prescott.
Again,
unfairly. It's ridiculous.
If you're offered the options between the trio of Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, or Cooper Rush, and Dak Prescott is your third choice,
to many Cowboy fans.
That's insane.
Y'all are nuts.
Insane.
You're nuts. Let's see Hurts kick the Cowboys defense ass next week. They may win. They may beat Dallas in the NFL. He ain't going to stomp their ass. The Cowboy defense isn't going to fall apart next week. They're going to be good. Hopefully Micah's better physically. But I expect a big game, a good game. And they need to win this game because if they lose this game, they'll be 2 games out with a game in the loss column to Philadelphia.
Yeah, but
so it's a big game.
Kind of like we just hinted at. I mean,
but Philly's going to lose some games.
Philly's going to lose some games.
Sure.
The NFC is going to lose some games. There's not a dominant team that is looking.
The Packers suck.
Packers again lost to your New York Giants today in London.
4-1.
Yeah,
only the juggernaut Cowboys beat them.
See, again, that's insane. The fact that the one loss the Giants have is to Cooper Rush.
You bet your ass.
That's it. The NFL sucks.
The NFL sucks.
It sucks.
Yeah,
but
sucks.
Right now, you've got a 4-1 Cowboys team.
Yep.
You've got a big divisional opponent on the schedule next in Philadelphia. And you've hopefully looks all signs pointing to your starting quarterback coming back. I mean, I all things considered, you flash back to the depths of despair that we were in doing this show after week 1. We're talking about, we got to do 17 more of these bitches.
God, we'll have no viewers in 3 weeks. None.
And we're sitting here debating Cooper or Dak. Like, come on, come
on, man.
We're in the early stages. Let's let Cowboys girlfriend find some other way to get our hearts broken as we go along. This isn't it. This is a time for rejoicing and celebration, not arguing between backup quarterbacks. The most loved professional athlete in all of Texas is the Cowboys' backup quarterback.
Sure.
It always has been.
And the quarterback they're playing against.
That's correct, yeah. And
absolutely.
For comparison, yeah.
Tariq Woolen had another interception today for the Seahawks.
Love to see it.
Even though they got beat, he's on a bad team. Way to go,
round
Tariq.
pick.
3 weeks in a row. He's had pick.
Undervalued.
That's right. Shouldn't have done that. All right, that's it. We're done. Good times. All right, next week it's a 7:20 Sunday night game. I expect a bunch of y'all to get liquored up.
Yeah, stay up late with us.
And get in here and stay up late with us next Sunday night. We'll do it right here again from the Pickleball Giant Studios. Thank you to Pickleball Giant. Thank you to everybody that viewed this one and commented. Even you idiots that think Dak sucks. It's okay. Still love you hard.
I like your Chip and JoJo background. It's a massive improvement on the Hamas hostage situation.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of what I can do to add to this motif here by next week.
I like it.
Also, because I got a bunch of stuff that I brought with me. I need to find
a
place to dump it off.
That's more what it is. You
no,
need
I'm decorating.
Storage. Oh, it's decor. Yeah, as long as it's not chuggy.
I'm going to stick Jeff Traylor in the background next week.
Bars up, Mike.
Bars up. We got victory. All right, and Jeff will be on the radio show Tuesday at 6:05. But tomorrow we'll be on 4 to 7 doing Overreact Monday as we talk more about this game. And we'll get into some of the other shit that went on over the weekend. So y'all join us on the radio show on iHeart tomorrow from 4 to 7 Central Texas time. Next Overreact will come down next Sunday night. Have we agreed on Friday night? Is that what we're thinking? All right, the next Mike Taylor Live won't be till next Friday night because DJ LG's got another damn porn convention up in the Metro 6. Cherry Pit, is that who you're filming this week? Yeah, Cherry Pit. Okay, that's it. We're done. Thank y'all. We love you hard. We'll see you soon. Love you.
Overreact is brought to you by Pickleball Giant.